Elections officials in Wisconsin say no large issues have been reported to them as they gave an update on the process earlier today. A reminder, CBS News has projected President-elect Joe Biden will win Wisconsin and its 10 electoral votes, but President Trump's campaign says it plans to call for a recount in the state. Wisconsin Elections Commission Administrator Megan Wolf gave an update.
There have not been any large issues reported to us during the canvass process, and if there are, those issues are reported to us and to the public by the local election officials, as well as by any observers that are part of the canvass process, which usually also includes representatives from the political parties.
Let's bring in CBS News campaign reporter Adam Brewster. Hi, Adam. Thanks for joining us. So what is the latest on the canvassing and certification process in the state?
So as of this morning, 55 of Wisconsin's 72 counties have finished their canvass and certified their results. That means they've gone back, they've double-checked the math, corrected any errors that they may have found in the process as it relates to counting. So far, there haven't been any major changes in terms of vote totals to report, the Wisconsin Elections Commission just said. The deadline for these counties to finish their process is Tuesday, November 17th, this coming Tuesday. The Elections Commission said they expect all the counties will meet that. It will probably take the bigger counties, Milwaukee County, Dane County, where Madison is, some of the other large counties, until that deadline to finish that canvassing process. That is the last day when counties have to have that process complete.
And Adam, President Trump's campaign has said it will request a recount in Wisconsin. What did they say about how they are preparing for this request, and how do they foresee it working?
So the president's campaign can request a recount only after all of those counties are finished with the process being completed. So if it happens on Tuesday, when the last county hands in their canvass and certification, the president's campaign would have until 5 o'clock the following day, most likely Wednesday, to request a recount. And at that point, they would also have to pay up front the estimated cost of the recount. So the Elections Commission has been working with the counties. It's the counties themselves who conduct the recount in preparation of a possible request. What the costs might be, how the process would work, what space they might need to go through that. So while the president's campaign is not able to request a recount still for a few days, as this canvassing process has been ongoing, state election officials have been working with the county officials who would actually conduct the recount to get things in place so that once a recount is requested, the Elections Commission could move on that request quickly. The result has to be within 1%, which it currently is. And if it is with more than 0.25%, so 0.26% to 1%, that's the margin we're in right now, the president's campaign would have to pay a sum up front, and they may be refunded on the back end.
Okay, so we are obviously in the midst of a national coronavirus pandemic. Bring us up to speed on exactly what the situation is there, and will that impact this recount?
Sure. Wisconsin has been struggling throughout the fall, really mid to late September through October. They have had high numbers of cases. There have been dire warnings about hospitalizations, and even yesterday, top medical officials warning about hospital space that is still available and how that may impact care of other patients. How does this impact the recount? Well, that means you're going to need, of course, things, PPE being the number one thing, masks, disinfectant equipment, plexiglass, that sort of things that we saw at polling locations and absentee counting sites or counting sites on Election Day around the country. You may need larger spaces to rent. These may be normally able to take place at a county building, but you may need to go find a bigger space to rent. There may need to be video streams set up because this process is observable by the public, and you may not be able to have every member of the public come in, so you may need to set up video streams in some of these places for people who want to observe how the recount is happening. And that will all affect how much the campaign or it has to pay for this recount up front. In 2016, when there was a recount, Jill Stein's campaign had to pay about $3.5 million up front. It ended up costing about $2 million when things were said and done. The counties come up with an estimate. They sometimes don't hit those marks. Officials haven't said how much a recount may cost this time, but they have said that 2016 baseline is a good number to work off of, but understanding that there are probably going to be extra costs associated with conducting this because of the pandemic.
And what did election officials say regarding any issues with election security? Had they seen anything? Is there any evidence that they are looking into? Are they probing anything? What was the latest there, Adam?
Not at the moment. They said they haven't seen any evidence of widespread fraud or widespread issues. Earlier this week, the state's chief elections official, Megan Wolf, put out a lengthy statement kind of going after some of the misinformation that has been circulating about how the election was conducted in Wisconsin regarding results or things where absentee ballot envelopes were cured, which is a process by which officials since 2016 have been able to add address information for witnesses if that was not included, and they could determine, for example, if two spouses returned absentee ballots together and one included the witness address information of one and not the other, like the counties and the cities who counted those ballots were able to fill in that information themselves. So they've gone after some of the information that's gone out there that just doesn't fit with the rules. And Megan Wolf last week, this chief elections official, said there's a lot of people who look at elections and they're seeing things for the first time that they may not be familiar with. And they may see things that they think are an issue, and we take those seriously, but we are doing our best to explain what people have seen and why it fits with the rules and the regulations. And that's an important thing to remember. Americans are learning a lot about how the electoral process works after Election Day for the first time. There were probably many people who went to go observe elections in person for the first time. And that advice from Megan Wolf last week is a reminder that election officials, have been explaining some of these things that have been seen. We've seen it here in Michigan too, a similar message about some people may have seen things they thought were troubling. Here's why they are not necessarily an issue. And so as this process continues, those are people to turn to for information.
Well, all right, Adam Brewster, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.